Hey guys, for Blungin95, recording live from the county prison cell. As you've noticed, I have a bit of a, you know, facial hair situation going on, which makes me look less young, less early age, almost middle age. Speaking of which, this fight will have two middle-aged characters that are going through. I'm not good at segues. I should leave that in the video description. Um, so this fight idea came to me, I think like 2 days ago when I was I was like about to fall asleep, and you know how like you have an idea, and then you're about to fall asleep, and then you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me remember that, and then you forget it the next day. Well, and then so I had it like 2 days ago, and then yesterday last night, not before I fell asleep, thankfully, but like I was awake enough, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right, that was that idea." And then I was looking at it, and I'm like, "That's good enough to do and pad the time and put another video on my list." So enough stalling. This fight is gonna be Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles and All Might from My Hero Academia. Honestly, I think right now All Might is probably the only character you could put in a death battle. Like literally next death battle. If it had to have a My Hero character, I think All Might would be it. Just because like they have that same problem Naruto has, where they have like 30, 40 characters continuously flush out and give time to, and like have development and everything, so that you're gonna have a favorite, obviously, to cover as much ground as, and then maybe they'll get like a really cool fight or something that'll really show what they can do. But like Naruto had the benefit of running for 15 years. I don't know if My Hero is gonna do that, to be honest, but um I could see, but like yeah, so right now like Todoroki's probably not gonna do it, get in. Bakugo probably wouldn't be in a death battle. Midoriya would be the next one up, but again, like they're still gonna progress so much more. Whereas All Might, like, yeah, I guess it's still technically possible he could, some miracle would happen and he would get his power back or something. It's anime, but like you can't, the Bakugo, Midoriya, Todoroki, they're all going to get better and like progress and get more powerful and keep getting upgrades. Like that's gonna happen. So putting them in a death battle now, even though they've done that with characters before, it's like really, if you wait like another month, you're probably gonna be disproven about this. It's like the Yang versus Tifa thing. Like, would Yang have won if she's had her robotic arm? Who knows? Um, but anyway, yeah. So All Might and Mr. Incredible. This looks incredibly no pun intended, incredibly one-sided at first glance, and it might still be. But I mean, I did a tiny bit of digging on this. Well, like, okay, so I'm not gonna go like completely back and forth. I might give some description, but like, so Mr. Incredible, if somebody hasn't seen either Incredible movie, he's super strong. That's it, really. He's a big dude and he's super strong, right? He's a hero. For those of you who don't know, The Incredibles takes place in the '60s, I believe. Originally took place in like the '40s and now takes place in like the '60s. Um, Something like that. So, like it's that kind of landscape, but with superheroes in it, and supers have been outlawed and all of that. They're called supers, by the way. And he is just an ex. He is a man who has a normal life, who had a very successful run as a superhero in his younger days, and he's trying to relive. He's trying to reclaim his glory days. Um, but still, he's Mr. Incredible, and he is super strong to the point where his greatest feat was never in the movies. I believe and it was not only his greatest feat in terms of what I could see, because I couldn't find anything to counter this, but it was also literally described as his greatest feat of strength. Was in actually one of the Disney Pixar comic runs of the series, where he lifted a 48,000-ton submarine. Which is actually not, like, an exaggeration. That's apparently how much submarines weigh, I guess. But he lifted, like, a 48,000-ton submarine. And not only lifted it, but held it up until the entire crew of the submarine, because it had a full crew in it, so until the entire crew was able to evacuate it. So that's considered his greatest feat of strength. Now, it's really hard to compare lifting strength, or at least when you don't have the fucking patience and math acumen that Death Battle seems to have. It's really hard to compare lifting strength to striking strength, which is mostly how you're going to measure All Might, because he doesn't really lift much. But yeah, like, that's anything you're going to use with Mr. Incredible, that's pretty much the extent of it, is going to be that he's really, really strong and he lifts. He's clever. He's a cagey veteran, I guess I would call him. Sorry about the thumb blocking the camera lens. He's a cagey veteran, in many cases. He's a sly dog, as Syndrome would call him. He's got some experience under his belt, and he's, incredibly strong, and he knows what he's doing, but it's not like, there's not really much more to break down. It doesn't really have much more going for him besides the fact that he's really strong. Then we get All Might, who is is also the same kind of thing, where he's this veteran hero who's now much past his prime, trying to hold on to this identity of, this hero that he has, even though he knows that it won't last. I'm assuming they're gonna go with All Might before he completely lost, or didn't completely lose All for One, and I'll explain that, but where he completely lost All for One, or he can only keep it up for, like, seconds now. So All for One is All Might's quirk, which is, another anime name for a fucking power, which is weird, because it's based on superheroes, so why they couldn't just call it a superpower, I don't know. But quirks, fine, whatever. It's not a naturally obtained quirk, or it's not it's not a naturally developed quirk. It is an obtained quirk. You have to obtain it from a previous user. And what it does is it adds the strength of all of its users combined. Strength, speed, agility, all of that, stamina, durability, all of that, it adds it to the current user. So it's like the Doctor Who or Avatar state of My Hero, where, it's like where it gets stronger each generation. And he's, with All for One, he's able to, but the problem is it's something that's activated. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm just now super strong indefinitely. No, it's All for One, activate All for One now. As long as I have this active, I'm super strong, super fast. Yeah, so All Might's definitely got the speed advantage, able to pretty much move faster than the human eye. And also, I think he said he was able to, he landed 300 punches in the span of, like, less than a minute. Probably a lot less than a minute, actually. That makes it sound like, that might be humanly possible, but he landed 300 punches in, well, probably like 10 seconds altogether, to be honest. So, that would definitely give him the speed advantage. And what I remember his greatest feat of strength being, this guy can't fly, but he can jump pretty much to the point where he's flying. He can jump like halfway across a city. But his greatest feat that I remember was that at the very end when he was facing One for All, the United States of Smash, the punch was so strong that it actually created, I can't really call it a tornado because it kind of just dispersed immediately. Not what a tornado is. But it created like a vortex, a wind tunnel, I guess, so strong that it was comparable to a tornado for the few seconds that it was active. As far as I know, that's his strongest feat of strength. So, punching a tornado-like anomaly into existence, or lifting a 48,000-ton sub. I don't know which of those is going to be stronger, to be honest. However, All Might is frequently known to punch the air to the point where, like, he creates a shockwave, and the pressure is felt, like, from, like, across a town. He can punch you from, like, 500 yards away, and you'll still, like, be, like, blown back by it. He's been described as the most awesome force produced by the planet. He's been attributed, but because of his injury that was sustained from All for One, which again, or One for All, I should say. Again, they're not going to go with completely young All Might, but they're going to go with, like, between the beginning of the series and when he loses his power. He's only able to sustain the form for, at the most, when we see him, 3 minutes at a time. And then later down the line, that gets cut down to 1 minute and 40 seconds. And then after the fight with One for All, it becomes, like, 3 seconds, so... the guy's also been strong enough to punch Nomu, whose quirk was shock absorption. He was able to punch him hard enough that he propelled into, like, the upper atmosphere. So that was... not the upper atmosphere, but, like, well above the zerosphere, well above clouds. So, like, who do I think would win this? I mean, I don't think it's as one-sided as people make it out to be. Again, it's anime, and I've said this before, anime has a way of making every character look like the strongest character in anime. Right, you could have an anime character throw a baseball, and if it goes more than 10 feet, the way it's animated, the way it's presented to you, you're going to be like, that guy could probably kick Batman's ass. Like, there are sumo wrestlers in anime that are literally just sumo wrestlers, but the way it's animated and the way it's presented, you'd think they were superhuman. I've heard people say that, I looked this up and they said, like, Todoroki would kick Mr. Incredible's ass, or Bakugo would kick Mr. Incredible's ass. It's like, I don't think they would, and I don't think this fight is nearly as one-sided as people think it is. I do think it is kind of one-sided, though. All Might not only has strength that is at least comparable to Mr. Incredible's, if not better, but he has a speed advantage, he has probably a durability advantage. The only major downside that he has is that, limitation of time. If Mr. Incredible were to win this, it would be because of that. It would be because, oh shit, I can't keep... And not only that, the more damage he takes while in his form, which is hard to do, but the more damage he takes, the harder it is for, like, the less he... the less his time gets decreased. So he ended up taking a major injury from the Nomu, which is what cut his time down from 3 minutes to 1 minute and 40 seconds, so almost in half. So if Mr. Incredible's not going to know about that injury, but, he would still be capable of landing some shots because he is super strong, to the point where, he's not so much weaker than All Might that, All Might would just shrug off a punch. So, I would think that, if Mr. Incredible happens to hit the weak spot or just hits him hard enough that, All Might would get, would feel it, then that would decrease his time. Anyway, statistically, I guess more times than not, I would say All Might would win this, regardless of the, time gap. So, I'm a little sick if you can't tell, sorry. But, yeah, I would say All Might would win this. This was a decent fight to do, but, it's good enough to make an episode out of, like I said. But anyway, we're Belinja95. See ya.